India, how will we understand, number one, that God says He protects us and watches over us? Number two, that we say that people on a mission to do good are not harmed. Number three, what happened to all the prayers and pure belief of so many people? I guess that sums up pretty much all the questions we have about this event. Number one, God says He protects us and watches over us. What does that mean? You have to ask yourself a very, very painful question. What caused this young couple to die? A maniac with a machine gun? A bunch of fanatics who decide who should die? Or God? To think that this young couple died because of a mishugana? How can you insult their lives like that? How can you cheapen their lives like that? There's no question, there's no doubt, there's no room for doubt that their death was not a mistake. It was definitely a tragedy. But not a mistake, not a pointless, meaningless tragedy. God, what protects people means no one can kill or harm us unless there's something right about it. They don't have the power. No one has the power to hurt anyone. Evil does not have authority over goodness. Ever, ever. That's what God protects us from. Number two. What do we say that people on a mission to do good are not harmed? Again, in this case, what we're seeing, people on a mission to do good will always end up doing good. More good. Their mission will never turn bad. Nothing bad will come from their mission. Will nothing painful come? That's not the point. Pain can sometimes produce a lot of goodness. Pain can sometimes produce a lot of evil, like depression, cynicism, anger. When you're doing something good, only goodness will come from it. They must have been doing some very powerful good, because all of the goodness that is coming from it, and it's just starting.
So what's the purpose of sharing someone, like someone who's looking to go on a trip so that you'll have to travel? Or is that like on this instruction?
No, there is a protection from pointless evil. Of course. There will be no pointless suffering.
Is there ever pointless suffering? I mean, as long as suffering comes from God.
To varying degrees. In this case, Obviously, their death was divinely ordained. It doesn't always produce so much goodness. The goodness is hidden, it's private, it's buried. In this case, the goodness is so obvious, it's so upfront. Number 3, what happened to all the prayers and the pure belief of so many people? There was a guy, a chassid, who was out in Siberia all by himself. Communists exiled him to some place in Siberia. And he felt that his end was near. And he really didn't want to be buried out in the middle of nowhere. And he prayed intensely that he should be buried among the Jews in a Jewish cemetery. As it turns out, he survived. And he came back to Moscow, wherever the Rebbe was, previous Rebbe. And he had an appointment to see the Rebbe, and he walked into the room, and the Rebbe said to him, "Don't ever pray for death. You always pray for life, not for a nice funeral." We always pray for life, not for a nice death. So what happens to all the prayers when it doesn't seem to be answered? When we pray, we're basically saying, God runs the world. Isn't that what it means? Why are you asking God to protect these people? Because God runs the world. So by praying, you're basically saying, no one else can decide, no one else can make the decision of life and death, or pain, or happiness. Only God. It's in His hands. That's what your prayer says. Have you changed your mind? Are you now convinced that some maniac terrorist has control over life and death and not God? Of course not. You're now more convinced than before that God runs the world. Number 2. Because God runs the world, when you're praying, what are you asking for? You're asking for God to make the decision to look after these people, and that the people who you're praying for should be in God's hands, should be on God's lap, on His shoulders, and not abandoned, not neglected. You think they were abandoned? You think God did not take them in His hands? Now, of course, we wanted God to take these people into His hands, onto His lap, and allow them to live longer. Well, God disagreed. He took them in His hands the way He sees it, according to His plan. So what do we know? We know that God did not abandon them. That's what we prayed for. That's what we wanted. How much of an effect did that have? How much special attention did this couple get from God, even as they were dying? Who can measure these things? How do we know? But if you think your prayer was useless, then you're basically saying that this event has convinced you that God does not run the world, that God doesn't pay attention. It's not true. Not only does God pay attention, but God pays more attention when a person is prayed for by others. More attention doesn't mean he's going to do what you want. More attention means he's going to take better care of this couple or of these people than if you hadn't prayed. So maybe all the goodness that is coming out of this, the reaction of the world being so positive, is the result of all those prayers.